Hi, it's Dr. JP again, and today I would like to read Henry and Mudge, the first book of Henry and Mudge. This is I don't know if you're aware, but there's many Henry and Mudge books, but this is the first one by Cythia Rylant. Pictures by Susie Stevenson. So why don't we start out, because this is the first book of their adventures, and it's almost 30 years old. It's coming up to almost 30 years old, but I think you'll enjoy this one, especially if you don't have a pet, or you had a pet, or want a pet. Start out. Henry had no brothers and no sisters. "I want a brother," he told his parents. "Sorry," they said. Henry had no friends on his street to play with. There's Henry. See? "I want to live on a different street," he told his parents. "Sorry," they said. Henry had no pets at home. "I want to have a dog," he told his parents. "Sorry," they almost said. But then they looked at their house with no brothers and sisters, and they looked at their street without any kids, and then they looked at Henry's face and they said, and they looked at each other. "Okay," they said. "Can I have a dog?" "I want to hug you," Henry told his parents, and he gave them a hug. But this is how Mudge came about. Henry searched for a dog. "Not just any dog," said Henry. "Not a short one," he said. "Not a curly one. And I don't want any with pointed ears." But then he found Mudge. And Mudge had floppy ears, not pointed. And Mudge had straight fur, not curly. But Mudge was short. "But that's because he's a puppy," Henry said. "He's going to grow in it." And look at how tiny he is. Look at the hand touching Mudge. But did Mudge ever grow? He grew out of his puppy cage. He grew out of his dog cage. He grew out of 7 collars in a row. And when he finally stopped growing, he weighed 180 pounds. And he stood 3 feet tall. And he drooled. And Henry said, "I'm glad you're not short." And so now there's Henry and Mudge, full grown. And Mudge licked him, and then he sat on Henry. Now, Henry used to walk to school alone, and when he walked, he used to worry about the tornadoes or the ghosts, and biting dogs, and he started also thinking about bullies. But now, he'd walk as fast as he could, and he looked straight ahead and he never looked back. But now when he walked to school with Mudge, well, those tornadoes, those bullies, those ghosts, and other biting dogs, well, he didn't think about that anymore. Now when he walked, he thought about vanilla ice cream, rain, rocks, and good dreams. And he walked to school, but not too fast. And he walked to school, sometimes even walked backwards to school. And he walked to school and he patted Mudge's big head, and he was happy. Now, Mudge loved Henry's room. He loved dirty socks. He loved the stuffed bear. He loved the fish tank. Most of all, he loved Henry's bed. Because in Henry's bed was Henry. And Mudge loved to climb in with Henry. And he loved to smell him. He smelled his lemon hair, he smelled his mouth and his soapy ears, and he smelled his chocolate fingers, and he would lick the chocolate off. And then he put his head by Henry's head, and he looked at the fish tank, and he looked at the bear, and he looked at Henry, and he licked him, and then he fell asleep. But one day Mudge took a walk without Henry, and the sun was shining, and the birds were flying, and the grass smelled sweet. And Mudge couldn't wait for Henry, so he just left. And he went down one road, sniffing the bushes, and then he went down another road, kicking up dust, and he went through a field across the street into some pine trees. But when he came out on the other side, he was lost. And he couldn't smell Henry. He couldn't smell his front porch. He couldn't smell the street he lived on. And Mudge looked all around. He didn't see anything or anyone he knew. And he whined a little. And he was alone without Henry. And he laid down alone without Henry. And he missed Henry's bed. He was lost. But now, what was happening with Henry? Henry thought Mudge would always be with him. He thought Mudge made everything safe. He thought Mudge would never go away. But when Mudge did go away, Henry called and he called, but Mudge didn't come. And Henry's heart hurt. And he started crying for almost an hour. But when he finished crying, Henry said, "Mudge loves me. He wouldn't leave. He must be lost." So Henry walked and walked and walked, and he called and called, "Mudge, Mudge." And he looked for Mudge, and he walked down one road, and he went down another road, and the sun shone as Henry ran through a field calling, "Mudge, Mudge, Mudge." And the birds were flying past, and he stood by a stream, and he kept calling, "Mudge, Mudge." And the tears fell again as he looked down at the empty pine trees for his lost dog, and he cried, "Mudge, Mudge." And then Mudge woke up from his nap, from his lonely sleep, and then he came running. And that's when they were reunited, and they were Henry and Mudge again. And you know what? Every day when Henry woke up, he saw Mudge's big head. And every day when Mudge woke up, he saw Henry's face. And then, after that, they ate breakfast at the same time. And then they ate dinner at the same time. And then, when Henry's at school, Mudge just laid around and he waited. Mudge never went for a walk without Henry again. And Henry never worried that Mudge would leave. And because sometimes in their dreams, they saw these long silent rows and these big wide fields and deep streams and pine trees. And in those dreams, Mudge was alone and Henry was alone. But then Mudge would wake him up and Henry was with him, and he remembered the dream, and they would stay closer. And Henry woke up. He knew Mudge was with him. He remembered the dream. He remembered the looking and the calling and the fear, and he knew he would never lose Mudge again.